Hi, this is Anthony Mosley, the director of the Fort Worth Portrait Project, and you are rolling along with me early on New Year's Day, 2018. Not the earliest that I drove this day. I actually started about midnight and drove till about 3:30 or so in the morning. For some reason, didn't get footage of that, but was an active night full of very active people, very drunk people, who were supremely appreciative of my ability to get them from the bars they were at, down to the West 7th area, to their homes. So it was a good night of driving overall. Only got about 3 hours of sleep and found myself out here about 7 o'clock in the morning, taking a ride to the southwest of Fort Worth. And so I'm heading back in this footage on fairly icy roads, and didn't really record any audio. I had the audio on, but for whatever reason, didn't say anything. So when I went back to edit the videos, I decided I'll just go ahead and share a little bit about the Uber experience. In the clip that you're watching right now, that's black ice that is underneath the tire ruts of where most cars travel. So I was a little bit off the center of that, or tried to be, driving a little bit off to the shoulder, although it doesn't look like that in this particular clip. So I'm heading north to get back onto 20 and then back over into the Fort Worth area. So a lot of people ask me, what are the most unusual, the most memorable rides that I've had, the bizarre ones that stand out? And I've certainly had those for sure. I can say without a doubt, although I don't have evidence of this, but common sense leads me to believe that I was on a drug deal at least once. Picked a guy up, and instead of taking him directly to his destination, he says, "Hey, can we stop over at this place, this other house?" So he didn't want me to pull up directly in front of the house. Of course, I don't really know what's going on, but who knows. And he has me pull down a few houses. He gets out and has an empty backpack and runs into the yard of this house and inside the house. In front of that house, there were 4 or 5 guys who were just sitting there like sentries in folding chairs watching the neighborhood. And about 5 minutes passed, and the guy runs back out to me, gives me a $5 tip just to keep me there, goes back into the house, and then finally comes back out with his backpack, and who knows what was in it. But he was really conscious. He smelled like mothballs to me. And he said, as he got back in the car, "Man, I don't know what they're doing in that house. It's just so weird that, it smells like mothballs or whatever. Who knows what they're doing?" So I'm guessing it was some type of meth production or something. At this point, I'm not really talking to him. I'm not looking in the mirror. I'm not asking him questions. I don't know for certainty that he's got drugs in his backpack, but my goal is now to drop him off at his destination and remain not very memorable to him. So it's one of the situations where I wasn't really sure if I should notify authorities. I decided not to because I did not see any drugs. I do not know that there were drugs involved. So, and then for my own personal safety, I just, let's just keep on rolling with life and go to the next ride. So that was an interesting one. I've found out what the strip clubs are here in Fort Worth. Turns out that strippers, or exotic dancers as they would probably term it, need to get to work too. A lot of them will say that they are servers working at the bar or whatever, but, and maybe. I don't know. I doubt it given the makeup and whatever, but just speculation on my part. But speaking of nudity, it hasn't been the strippers. It's was a TCU student, a couple actually, who loaded into my the back of my car, drunk as could be. I mean, really drunk. picked them up at a house party and took them to some place nearby the campus. And so I'm rolling down Barry, about to turn south on University near the bookstore, and I look in my back rearview window, in the mirror, just because we were just looking at traffic and whatever. She's got her top completely down, and the guy's got his hands behind her and, whatever. And we're in a very well-lit area, passing the area where the new Chase Bank is, in between that and the Kroger. Ended up dropping them off a couple blocks away. They were so drunk, I just don't think they even had the first clue what was going on. But interesting experience, for sure. I used to drive a lot at nights, during the nights, picking up groups from West 7th and going back to campus, or on TCU going from one house party to the next. And they even knew that the police were going to be there to bust a party at midnight, and sure enough, I could keep going back to the house, picking up groups of people and taking them to the next house party or wherever they were going. Saw a lot of really interesting things on those occasions where I worked those late nights, and I did that for several months. It tended to be extremely loud. Was talking with a friend who has kids who are autistic, and as part of that, a lot of people can't deal with really loud noises, and I'm not in that camp. I'm just fine with regular life. But I tell you what, some of these rides put me over the edge. They want to turn the volume of the radio up to way past what I would want, and then they talk over that. So anyway, at times I will have to, of course, turn the radio down. To me, it's almost like driving somewhere with 30 chickens who are going absolutely berserk. That's like the level of distraction. They're, flying around the cabin, flapping their wings, in my chicken metaphor. So, I had to really, really, really concentrate on traffic and just driving. And sometimes they try to engage me in conversation, which is fine at times, but if the volume is too high and things are just crazy, I just have to tell them, look, my job is to get you safely to your destination. Sometimes they buy that and just let me go. Other times they just, it's just a simple question, whatever it is. The other night it happened to be what my New Year's resolution was. And I just wasn't able to sputter much out. I finally said something about the Fort Worth Portrait Project and hoping to expand that. But anyway, had a TCU girl recently, was going to the Oklahoma TCU game at the AT&T Stadium. And this is probably 11, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, heading over there prior to the game. But, a lot of these people tend to drink throughout the night. So these students were just plastered, probably 4 girls, maybe 3. One of them rolls down the window in the back, which, it's fine, whatever, just stay in the car. We're going down 30. Sticks her head out the window like a dog and yells or whatever, and her custom designer glasses fly off her face. And anyway, they're somewhere along the side of I-30 these days, probably been run over multiple times. So good times Ubering, for sure. I think I was most shocked when I saw that somebody had taken a knife or some really sharp object and had cut through the cargo net that's on the back of my driver's seat. That was when I was driving at night. So maybe wonder who that was and what danger I could have been in with this person who's slicing away at my seat back there. But hasn't all been negative. I've had some wonderful conversations with a wide range of people, especially since I've been driving during the early mornings and during the days. I generally get people who are far more sober. Had a wonderful conversation with the superintendent of the Fort Worth Independent School District, Dr. Kent Scribner, and his wife. They didn't know me from Adam at the time. I picked them up to take them to the airport. They were going on a trip. And, I think a measure of a person is how they treat the little people in life. And When I'm driving for Uber, I tend to fall into that classification as one of the little people in life relative to the social totem pole. But what's interesting is that Dr. Scribner treated me as if I were the president of a local university or the CEO of a major corporation that, might be able to give, millions of dollars to the school district to support the arts or the bands or science and technology or whatever. I thought that was really, really cool. And his wife was wonderful as well. Had a delightful conversation, and towards the end was able to talk a little bit about the Fort Worth Portrait Project. But was very impressed with the superintendent and his wife. Anyway, back to this video. I'm apparently on Hewlin, driving north. I've got my GoPro mounted in what's called the frame, and I have to flip the camera upside down and then flip the video itself upside down so that the whole thing ends up being right side up. But the frame itself is broken. It's rattling right now, so I need to get that replaced. And I might move the camera so it's actually mounted a little bit lower in the windshield and towards the center. On the other hand, I kind of like the blue faded strip that you got that's supposed to keep the sun out of the driver's eyes. It's almost like a filter.